Welcome to WWP Clips. This is the official Clips channel for We Want Picks. We will be uploading our individual fight breakdown videos here, so make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. And as always, go to wewantpicks.com/bets, sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, at UFC Austin, we have another rebooked fight. We got Phil Hawes taking on Deron Winn. Phil Hawes, 11-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, and he's coming off that loss to Chris Curtis. Deron Winn is 7-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming back after more than a year away from the cage. And I mentioned, this is another, I think we have 3 rebooked fights on this card, and this is the second of the third? I don't know. This is the second one. And this has actually been booked twice before. Most recently, it was booked in October. But Winn pulled out last minute. And then Chris Curtis stepped up. That fight fell through. But that's eventually what led to Phil Hawes fighting Chris Curtis about a month after that. And sucked for Phil Hawes in that fight. But Chris Curtis has himself a little bit of a streak. But this is a rebooked fight. Phil Hawes is a phenomenal wrestler with a ton of power and explosiveness. His striking does continue to improve, and he does look more comfortable each time out. Even in his last fight, I get it, Chris Curtis knocked him out, but he was actually winning those striking exchanges, and the final numbers were 49 strikes to 22 for Phil Hawes. Essentially, he was caught coming in, but he actually looked good, he looked comfortable, and he landed really well. Obviously, it was poor game planning on Phil Hawes' part to strike with Chris Curtis when all he needed to do was freaking wrestle the guy. But the point is that despite his chin, Phil Hawes' striking is improving, and it's better than what Tapology will tell you. Jacob has IBS, apparently. He's a high-level athlete. It shows every time he goes out there. Phenomenal wrestler. He fixed his cardio issues about a few fights ago, and now he's working on his striking. What the hell was that?
Had to feed the horse.
Jesus Christ, you're really committing to this bit. Deron Winn is also a pretty good wrestler. He's got solid aggression on his feet, and he continues to come forward with his wrestling offense. He's got an insane 12 takedowns in his last fight against Antonio Arroyo. He had 6 against Darren Stewart. Before that, he's a short little tank of a man with looping power shots, powerful hips, and a very straightforward game plan. And if you look at the stats, Deron is actually the more effective wrestler in the UFC. He averages almost 5 takedowns per fight, which is double Phil's numbers, and has a 52% accuracy compared to Phil's 33% takedown accuracy. And it's a tricky fight to pick because when you get 2 high-level wrestlers together, you just never know what you're going to get. You might get a wrestling match. You might get a kickboxing match. It's always hard to tell when you have 2 guys like this. And Deron worries me because he's the more determined wrestler in MMA. And if he wants to take Phil down, he will. It's much easier to finish a takedown than it is to defend one. Even though Phil is a phenomenal wrestler, I could see Deron winning the wrestling exchanges if he initiates them first. And that's the key because even though Deron's offensive wrestling numbers are insane, he has a 0% takedown defense. He was taken down by Gerald Mearshart, who's not great at takedowns. He was taken down by Darren Stewart as well. And this is almost like the Brendan Allen-Malkoun fight. You used that analogy last fight. I'm using it here, where in that breakdown, I said Brendan Allen, in this case Phil Hawes, is the more talented fighter, but you can't trust the game plan. So Jacob Malkoun, last week, in this case Deron Winn, can actually win the fight because he will initiate the takedowns and he will stick to a game plan. I'm still going to go with Phil Hawes here because I think he's just the better mixed martial artist. But there is a very clear path for Deron Winn, and it is wrestling, even though Phil Hawes is a very, very decorated wrestler. What do you think?
No, I 100% agree. And I think this is a best case scenario matchup for Deron Winn because you got a wrestler who was falling in love with the striking and could give you issues with the striking, but he just got flat knocked out in his last fight, so maybe that makes him a little bit more hesitant. Maybe it makes him want to wrestle a little bit more, and you should win those striking or those wrestling exchanges. In my mind, listen, this all depends on what type of Deron Winn shows up, because this dude is 5'6" and has missed weight at 185 pounds multiple times in his career. So I did a deep dive, or I looked at his Instagram, and I'm looking at his Instagram right now, and this dude is recommitted to mixed martial arts, and it's actually good to see because he is a very, very talented wrestler. He's one of DC's boys. He's been training with Khabib. I have a caption up right here. He said, 8 months ago, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to chase this life anymore. Combative sports has been the only thing I've ever truly known. It's consumed my life for 29 years. I've struggled in these years, the last year being my biggest struggle. I've been my worst enemy, but he decided, I'm going to make a dedication to myself and show myself that I can still do this and still do this at a high level. And when you're looking at him in these tapes, man, he looks like he's in shape. He doesn't look like that picture right there. Obviously, when you're seeing these two guys, you're like, oh, Phil Hawes, the big favorite. He looks like he's going to dominate this fight. Be careful with this fight, guys. I mean, this is a Phil Hawes fight that he should win because, as Manchal mentioned, he is the better overall mixed martial artist. But Deron Winn has a chin like a cinder block because he's not a very good defensive striker. He just eats shots, and he's used to fighting the bigger fighters. I mean, he's a 5'6" guy. The last guy he fought was 6'3". He's used to being able to get inside, close those distances. If he gets on top of you, when he was out of shape, he was out wrestling people like crazy. He was on tryouts for the Olympic team in the wrestling. Obviously, he didn't make it, but this dude, in shape, Deron Winn is a scary, scary dude for this division, especially for a guy like Phil Hawes, whose backup plan is to go to the wrestling, and he could easily get out wrestled in this matchup. So I agree. My pick is Phil Hawes. But if you guys are looking for parlay pieces and this and that, you need to be very, very careful picking Phil Hawes for your parlay piece. I understand it looks flashy. It looks like, oh, Deron Winn, this fat, slob, short dude. He doesn't know what he's doing in there. But he can throw heat. He can take heat, and he should be able to win the offensive wrestling. So be careful. My pick's Phil Hawes, but be careful.
No, I completely agree with you, and that's why if we're talking DraftKings, I'm not touching Phil Hawes. Not for $9,000. $9,000 is you're going to put somebody away. And Phil Hawes is every bit as talented as we said. He's a nasty wrestler, a natural athlete, hits like a truck. All of these things. But it's a weird matchup, and you can't, just like Brendan Allen, you cannot trust this guy to stick to the game plan that he should stick to. And it's a shame because he actually is a very good striker, but
right.
That's
And
not your path.
it seems like he's figured out his cardio as well. But I think he actually got clipped by Kyle Dawkins in that fight in the first round. I think Kyle Dawkins literally almost put him out, and Kyle Dawkins has never put anybody out. And Deron Winn, if he's been training, looks like he's been working on his striking and everything. If he's starting faking shots with those big overhand rights, we've seen Phil Hawes have chin issues in the past. So I would be very, very careful with this matchup, guys.
Well, and frankly, Phil Hawes has looked better every single fight, even the Kyle Dawkins fight. He had cardio issues. People didn't. He fixed his cardio issues. Then in the last fight,
he mauled Kyle Dawkins. Yeah. Speaking, we just broke down Kyle Dawkins. He mauled Kyle Dawkins in that third round. So that was a good thing to see if you're a fan of.
And
Phil
then
Hawes.
the Chris Curtis fight was right after that, and his striking looked phenomenal. And then it did not look phenomenal. So either way, we both like Phil Hawes to win. I'm not touching him at $9,000 in DraftKings, and he may very well score 120 points. He's an animal. He's a freak athlete, but there's 14 fighters on this card. I don't necessarily trust him to do what I need him to do. Deron Winn, 7,200. That might be a live dog for you guys. If you think he's going to get those takedowns, that's a lot of points. So he is a live dog at $7,200. The betting line, listen, minus 260. I thought he'd actually be a bigger favorite than that, but I think the books are worried about his chin. And then the Monkey Knife Fight strike line is so interesting. These are so far apart from each other. 82 to 58. I think it's a less more or a less situation. What do you think?
100% agree.
Yeah, so you guys want to check out the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, go to weonpicks.com/MKF. It is daily fantasy. It is fun. It's legal. It's easy. It's an app. It's a website. Check it out. You can triple your money, and they will deposit match you. So take their free deposit money. And if you want 50 free bucks, you know the drill. weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you.